Hi there, I hope you're doing well. This is my video for my trend, and I'm going to be talking about the share trend that the professor had chosen. Uh, One of the concepts, themes that we could do for interpreting the culture, and so I chose this really because I live in Austin, Texas, and I don't know if you know my partner here, Robin. I'm sorry about the name, but if I'm not getting it right. But in Austin's kind of a liberal city. There's obviously conservatism within the city too, but you see very much kind of the mindsets of liberalism, which I think are kind of not to be political, but kind of have hand in hand with the very like free, everybody's stuff is everybody's. Let's share, let's be one tight knit community, let's be global even, and so Austin kind of really it's a nature here. It's a very much a sharing trend type of mindsets here in Austin. It has been for some time, with Keep Austin Weird. I think that's it ties in with like the uniqueness of the culture here. But so yeah, I chose it because we have Lyft, the car service. We have even bikes and scooters that are you can rent and leave on the side of the road, which we're actually having problems with, and Texas is legislation is actually having to deal with it and things like that with theft and everything. But nonetheless, there's a lot of this trend, this share trend happening here, and so let's get into it. So I see that there's in studies and kind of what I've already really know about it, the sharing of homes, Airbnb. It's a really big one. Airbnb really originated actually from a couple in New York who wanted to rent out their home because they needed a little extra money, but it was really cots and a bed, a cot bed and breakfast, it's a bed and breakfast, but they used cots, blow up mattresses really in their living room, and they used and they would house people there, but they would make breakfast and things like that, which is you wouldn't if you're on a vacation, it'd be different. You might want a hotel and not somebody's blow-up mattress for your stay. But nonetheless, it could be for business or whatever. A quick event. Like here in Austin, we have ACL and South by Southwest, which are major world-renowned music festivals and film festivals and things like that are very familiar here. And so Airbnb is really big here. I mean, almost every neighborhood is doing it. We have a lot of business here, and the last, anywhere from 5 to 8 years, business has grown. The city has grown. There's millions. There's almost 2 million people here in Austin and in the surrounding areas, and so Airbnb and things like that are definitely big here, and so the community really adapts to that and really enjoys that. Goodness, sorry about that. There's insurance people calling me. Don't look on the internet for insurance and try and get a quote because they'll get 1,000 calls. Anyways, so there's anywhere from bikes, homes, vehicles, scooters, and a multitude of other things that people want to lend for a service. For goods, farmers market is big here too. I think that's great. I think this sharing trend stuff is awesome, and it's really, it can be helpful in a communal aspect, and so but nonetheless, let's get into why. So the idea is to be communal, to be a community of caring people. We love you. It's kind of like the theme here. I don't want to label it, but this is my weird terminology, kind of hippie, like in Austin. So it's I care for you, you care for me. I'll be honest, back in my younger days, I'm still young, but in my younger days, it was you would share anything, even if it's certain substances that are illegal. It's just the whole mentality of Austin, um, which is kind of strange. But anyways, it's ingrained in this community and in this culture here, and so it really permeates in almost every aspect, almost every corner, especially more central and South Austin. But they want a community of caring people. They're looking out for the small person. We have a lot of money here in Austin, but it's still kind of a struggle. It's like almost like a mini New York, in my opinion. Is like you go down Central Austin, South Austin. There's a little bit more poverty down there because housing is so expensive, and now that more people, because of business and companies like Apple moving here and things like that. It's becoming another Silicon Valley, so there's a flux of people and business, and so everybody's cramming into the center, and so everything's going up, housing and everything. So Airbnb's more popular, extended stay Airbnbs, things like that, and so people are looking out for one another more or less because they're like, dude, I want to live here, I love this city, but it's hard, so I need some help here, and so so they adapt to this community of borrowing. Also, it helps with, to some degree, people that are like clean living, like pollution, things like that want to rid pollution, that are obviously right now, if you happen to know that a big thing of, the whole global warming ideas and things like that are being really kind of thrown at us. And I think some of the share trend community has adopted these ideas as, okay, if we share cars, that's less cars on the road, that's less pollution, so you kind of get that idea. It's not some parts of the community, it's not necessarily about boycotting certain products and items, because it's not just cars that are pollution, but even our products, the factories that make the products are adding to a pollution, adding to global warming and climate change. But it's not necessarily about boycotting. I'm sure there's some likened in there, but it's more of a minimalistic mentality in mind of the person and community and what have you. So sharing is minimalistic. It's caring for the community. It's really looking out for the small person, small guy. We have, like I said, we have scooters that you can, they're electric scooters. You can get paid to charge the scooters, and you can also pay for a certain amount of time or for the scooter on an app, and you get to ride the scooter anywhere you want as long as you pay for however many hours that you use it. Because not everybody wants to use a car. They want to go electric. Sure, that's good. It can be good for the environment, what have you. But then so they get to, so it's like kind of one big community. Okay, here's a bike, or even here's a car. So it's not just like Lyft and slipping my mind. The other big one that's Uber. Okay, it's not just that, but like people now. There's a company out there that it's a thing where if you have a nice car or an extra car, you can actually rent that out to somebody. Say they're coming in for work or out of town, you can actually rent that out. And so it's this big community. It's like, oh, we're all tight knit. Though we're paying, it's not necessarily sharing mentality as far as like I don't have to pay for this service, but you do have to pay. And so there's some boundaries there within this community. Also, just to add on, it's not just vehicles. It could be even possibly, I haven't researched it totally yet, but about money, sharing money within a community. Possibly funding, which is part of like GoFundMe accounts and things like that. So it's trying to be tight knit and not kind of be a third party and not use so much government or corporate resources. So I think that's another part of the mentality behind the share community. So it also with those that are having locally owned. People want to be their own boss. So with Lyft, you're kind of your own boss. You fill out the applications. You get on the app and what have you. You become a driver. It's your own car. Your own expenses go into it. and so it's on your own time. I know somebody that's doing it, and they can only do it certain hours. It's not a 9 to 5 job. People want that freedom of, I choose my hours because I've got other life things to do or what have you, and I can't just have a structured 9 to 5 job, which isn't bad at all. But so people want to be their own boss and not have to really deal with corporate ladder of managers or what have you. So that's another aspect. Real quickly, so I can sum this up, as far as theology goes, as far as Christians and how we deal with this, is Christians shouldn't adopt this, but we should actually show how this culture is to be really done. Because in all honesty, when you read in Ephesians chapter 4, about how we're to be a community, and Romans 12, how we are to be as Christians, and really all throughout the New Testament, we read on how to be a community, how to lift one another up and exalt one another for the sake of the faith. There's going to be some. So if we had such a sharing-like community, Christians, I think, are to be in the best position to show them this is how you run this type of community. And how you do that. How do you share? How do you forgive when somebody messes up? How do you have humility when somebody doesn't agree with a certain contract or agreement, borrowing agreement, or some type of transaction? How do you handle that? Should we just go sue each other? No, the Christian way is not to sue, but you forgive, you make up what is due, and so on and so forth. And obviously this is all to really head towards the likeness of the kingdom of God, and hopefully see people saved. So I hope that sums it up. I wish I had more time, but so I think that's really about it. And so yes, amen.